Founded in 1982, the Brattleboro Historical Society is held to its mission to collect and preserve historical artifacts, documents, photographs, and data of persons, places, and events significant to Brattleboro from its earliest days to the present, and to disseminate Brattleboro's history through research, exhibits, and interpretation of the collection for the education and enjoyment of the community. Located on the third floor of the Municipal Center at the north end of Main Street, next to the Brooks Memorial Library, the Brattleboro Historical Society occupies what was once the last remaining unaltered room of the former high school. The room contains research and reference material and some local artifacts, administrative space, and is the center of the Society's activity.
I first became involved when the society was organized, as a matter of fact, back in 1982. But leading up to that, I had been involved with a group that did come together and did go through, set it up in a formal way. I date the beginning really of the Brattleboro Historical Society back when the book Before Our Time was published by four really outstanding and enthusiastic historians here in Brattleboro, namely Jeff Barry, Dick Wellman, Dick Mitchell, and can't say his name, Richard Michelman. I'm sorry. That, to my way of thinking, kicked off the thinking necessary to start a historical society here in Brattleboro. I kind of wondered why there hadn't been one prior to that, and my own thinking is that it was because the library, the old Brooks Memorial Library downtown on Main Street, had a history room that collected a lot of early documents, papers, books, things like that. It was really quite a fine collection, known as the Phelps collection originally, and that, if you will, sort of took the place of a historical society, perhaps in some people's minds. But in any event, come the 1980s, some of us felt that it was time that we did have a formal, organized history society here in Brattleboro, and we got together to do the paperwork and establish a corporation, a nonprofit corporation, to carry out that purpose.
On August 22nd, 1982, a group of local historians and civic leaders interested in Brattleboro's past held an organizational meeting at the Brooks Memorial Library. Stephen Baker, Joan Bibby, John Carnahan, John Hooper, and George Lindsay were named trustees. Discussion was held on the need for a letterhead and logo for the society, and proposals were made. In 1983, after completing its organizational meetings and receiving its charter, the society was now open for membership by any member of the public who wished to share their concern for Brattleboro's history. In announcing the opening of the membership, it was the trustees' intention to establish low annual fees in order for as many people as possible to take part in the society. The society held its first annual meeting at the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center. It was noted that the society had gained approval of the name of Samuel Eliot Apartments for the new low-income housing on Eliot Street, and plans were being made to obtain a plaque to commemorate one of Brattleboro's leading citizens and the person for whom Eliot Street was named. In 1984, the Wells Fountain was chosen by the Society as its logo from a design by Bill Schomer of Schomer Graphics in Newfane, Vermont. In February of 1985, the Society purchased an SD organ collection from Mrs. Hyacinth Renaud, some of which was on display at the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center for many years. In 1987, the Brattleboro Select Board granted the Society the use of the third floor room. The room had not been included in the earlier renovations, and a great deal of work had to be done before moving in. The room came with water-damaged ceilings and walls, insufficient lighting, and contained items no one wanted. With grants from the Crosby Foundation and the Vermont Yankee Nuclear Power Corporation and gifts from the members of the Society, work got underway. An ongoing process of cataloging old books, papers, photographs, clothing, and artifacts for easy access and research was begun. In 1991, the Richard Mitchell Memorial Fund dedicated a document file to the Society in his honor. The file provided storage for oversized maps, photographs, and documents. In 1992, Gordon Bristol presented the Society with a computer on behalf of the Vermont Yankee Nuclear Power Corporation. Also in 1992, the Society acquired a collection of more than 1,300 early photographic plates and prints from the Benjamin A. Crown collection. Crown was a noted Brattleboro photographer in the 20s, and his work is considered one of the finest representations of early Brattleboro history. In 1993, with a grant from the Crosby Foundation, 2 additional rooms were constructed on the 3rd floor of the Municipal Center to house 367 bound volumes of the Brattleboro Reformer, the Vermont Phoenix, the Daily Evening Times, the Semi-Weekly Eagle, and the Windham County Reformer from as early as 1833. In addition to its Saturday morning hours, in 1993 the Society established regular hours on Thursday afternoons between 1 and 4 p.m. In 1994, a collection of 2,800 historic photographs were donated to the Society by Brattleboro Photo, an organization formed by the authors of the 1974 book Before Our Time. Some of the photographs had formed the basis of the book and had been housed for years in the Brooks Memorial Library. In 1998, the Historical Society published an index of 43 with interest booklets published by the Vermont National Bank between July 1922 and April 1932. Society trustee Joanne Nichols compiled the index, which the Society published and are available at a nominal fee. Also in 1998, the first large display case was installed on the 1st floor of the Municipal Building, which housed the Society's theme exhibits. Later, a second one was installed on the 3rd floor near the entrance to the Society's room. 24 Esty organs owned by the Society were moved in 1998 to one of the slate buildings on Esty Street where they were first built. The organs had been stored in the 3rd floor attic of the Municipal Building and in private homes and would now be in one location. A telephone was installed in the Society's room in 1998, which allowed it to be more accessible to the public. Through the efforts of Jeff Berry, Jerry Gatz, and Wayne Carhart, in 1999 the Society embarked on a digital archiving program to preserve its collection of 7,000 images, which span more than 100 years of the town's history. At its annual meeting in November of 1999, Larry Cook, Brattleboro Realtor, presented the Jeremiah Beale House in West Brattleboro to the Society. The property provides space for meetings, displays, activities, and storage. It's open to the public on summer weekends through mid-October. In July of 2000, through the combined efforts of the Brattleboro Fire Department and the Historical Society, a museum for the history of firefighting was located in the former Dunkin' Donut building on High Street. In 2001, BHS students Benjamin Tucker and Michael Cohn began to create a website for the Historical Society as part of their graduation requirement that they volunteer 40 hours with a community organization. To add to the Society's website, cast members joined Tim Johnson at WTSA to record Voices from the Grave. Visitors to the website can hear actors playing the role of people who had some connection to Brattleboro tell their story. In 2003, the Brattleboro Reformer donated 20 years of their photographic collection to the Society. The Reformer no longer had the capacity to store such a large volume of photos, and they were too vital to go to waste. In 2004, the Rutland Historical Society transferred 12 boxes of Brattleboro Municipal Court records to the Society. For the first time in 25 years, the Historical Society, in connection with its anniversary, increased its membership fees.
I was in the group that was the first group in the new membership of the Society in 1982, listed as a charter member in the list in 1983. I have an interest in Brattleboro history, probably because I was born in Brattleboro and have always lived in Brattleboro. And I just feel that Brattleboro history is something that needs to be preserved for the future. The best experience, I think, for me was when we did finally get the room at the Municipal Center, because prior to that, people didn't really know we were that much, there wasn't that much presence of the Society, even though it was organized. This, of course, occurred in 1987 into 1988. And another, of course, good experience was when we did acquire the Beale House out in West Brattleboro through the generosity of Larry Cook, which that building, of course, gave us space to display our artifacts, which we did not have room for down at the Municipal Center. I would like the Society to encourage involvement of more people, even though I realize it's difficult for people to find time, but people express an interest in Brattleboro history, and I wish some of those people would become involved in the Society, and we need to find ways to do that if possible.
Children were coming to me that knew more about Africa than they did about Brattleboro, so I decided to do a unit on Brattleboro. So when my daughter came down to take pictures of the way things were, and at that time, I took the pictures, and she decided that she would do the pictures of Main Street. So when I went to pick up the pictures, it was Jeff who influenced me in becoming interested in the Brattleboro Historical Society. And he decided that he would give older pictures that would show the Main Street in part. And so that's what I did. I taught the new Main Street and the old Main Street. Well, the area that interested me the most was the old pictures and the pictures of the island when we had, and my father also played baseball there, so it was interesting. Well, I think now that I'm getting older, that I wish that someone younger would come in and help with the pictures, so that sometime I would leave it with them.
I came back to Vermont in 1989, and I think that my first involvement with the Historical Society was probably 1990. I can't really remember why. I think someone, possibly one of the Berries, Peg or Jeff, encouraged me to come, and that was how I got started. But the rest of the time it's working on Thursdays and working on Saturdays, either helping people who come in and are doing research, or in many cases it's setting up files, accessioning new work that's come in, We have an accessioning program that we do for everything that comes into the society. That's primarily it. I wish that there would be more volunteers, many more volunteers. We have a lot of work and a lot of things that really need doing. That we could do more programming if we had more folks. And so volunteers are really vital to this organization and very difficult to get. I think there are less and less folks volunteering for all kinds of things.
I think that I became involved with the Brattleboro Historical Society sometime in the 1980s. I know I didn't immediately after they started, but my husband and I had a family membership, and we just, both of us were interested in history, so that's why I did it. I guess my best experience would be working with people and getting to know some of the things we have in our collection. This is our 25th anniversary, and we just invite you all to come and visit us. In addition to the space that we have in the municipal building up on the 3rd floor, we also have the Jeremiah Beale House in West Brattleboro. And that, of course, takes an awful lot of money, and we certainly can use help with maintaining and keeping that up.
A lot has happened in those 25 years since 1982. We've had a great group of people working here. We've acquired a great many artifacts, documents, photographs. The photograph collection for the Brattleboro Historical Society is just outstanding and wonderfully organized. A lot of this is thanks to the work of Peg and Jeff Barry, but also the current people who work with it, Nancy Goldsmith being the principal person at the present time. So it's an overall thing that I would say has been the best experience. Being able to be here in the Municipal Center in this room has been a big help to the Historical Society, and there have been a lot of good experiences along the way. The town has been very good to the Brattleboro Historical Society over the years. This room is rent-free. The heat, the electricity are provided, and there is security, of course, in the building, and it's open virtually around the clock. And and of course, there is the elevator, which makes it accessible. So Esty certainly is a subject that's much on my mind, and in addition to working on Esty things here at the Brattleboro Historical Society, I've also been involved with organizing and carrying out the functions of the Esty Organ Museum, which was started in 2002. And so Esty's, to my way of thinking, is a wonderful story. It really is. I've often said, in my view, the most important thing that ever happened to Brattleboro. Esty was active for over a century, of course, so that covers a long period of time. But it was a really big operation, and it was a big thing in the national and even to some degree in the international scene with the manufacture of reed organs here. The largest reed organ manufacturer in the world, and these instruments are found in strange, out-of-the-way places in many different countries and different places. So that, I guess, is my favorite. But I always come up with other little things that interest me. Currently, we're doing a program on Henry David Thoreau, and that was just a 4-day visit here in Brattleboro, but it's a fascinating little sidelight or footnote to the Thoreau story and to the Brattleboro story. So it's hard to play favorites, but I do enjoy all of these things. I had a chance to take a look and to bring out some things that are special favorites of mine. These are drawings that were done by a man by the name of Charles Hinkle back in 1896 for the Esty Organ Company, and they're drawings of these very fancy, very beautiful carved cases that were being made by the SD company for the reed organs. And this is just one example. It's a beautiful front view showing the entire front picture, and then showing the end, and just endless design ideas, such fantasy, such really just beautiful, beautiful. And they were very good at producing these. The Hinkles themselves were wood carvers. Company had other good wood carvers, and to me these are just a lot of fun, and a good symbol of the creativity that was involved here in Brattleboro with the SD company. Here are a couple other items. This is actually a picture of Charles Hinkle and his family in a frame, a wooden frame, and goodness, can anyone ever imagine how all that could be carved by wood? But that's the perfect example of Hinkle's talent. He was an expert. And just a couple others. The collection is a collection of about 50 or 60 pieces, and these came to us in a strange way. I had a telephone call from a man down in New Jersey, said he had some drawings for the SD organ, and would we be interested in having them? And I said, of course we would be, but I didn't have any way of going to New Jersey on the spur of the moment to look at them. He said, oh, not to worry, he would send them along for approval. And here they came through the mail for approval, and the asking price was $40. And I would say that individually these drawings would sell for a whole lot more than that. But the price, of course, is secondary. It's just a gem of a collection of drawings and of an insight into the SD organ operation, and it clearly is one of my favorites. We wish we had more visitors. We wish people would find it interesting to come by and do a little research, perhaps on their family, on their house, on the town, some part of the town activity, perhaps where a member of their family had worked. This is something that we encourage, and we're open, as the tape probably already says, Thursday afternoons and Saturday mornings, Thursday from 1 to 4 and Saturday morning from 10 to 12. But we're also open at any time, really, by appointment. I'm more than glad to come by and show people specific things, and even just general things, and would welcome calls anytime for that purpose. So that and sort of trying just to keep up with the work that needs to be done here are my goals.
In addition to the work done at the Society's History Room, the volunteers are also involved in numerous other projects. Staffing and maintaining Beal House. Cleaning up the old retreat burial ground. Creating exhibits for the large display case in the municipal building and in vacant store windows. Disseminating society information. Conducting book sales on Main Street. Participating in various parades to promote awareness of the Society. Hosting school groups at the History Room and the Beal House. sponsoring historic rides up and down the Connecticut River on the Belle of Brattleboro. Presenting a framed picture of Samuel Eliot to the Samuel Eliot Apartment. Conducting walking tours of Brattleboro. In addition, the Society sponsors or co-sponsors Brattleboro-related historical programs. Kipling's Family Feud, Madame Cherie, joint research workshops, Water Wheels and Engines slideshow, Civil War slideshow, Brooks Memorial Library anniversary, campaign to save Paramount Theater artifacts, dinner to celebrate Kipling's moving to Dummerston, Canal Street School, Nalaka opening to the public, Island Park slideshow, mustering in, mustering out, Civil War monument relocation, local photographer George Houghton exhibit, SD organ commemorative sign, An American Nurse at War, Winter Train Trip fundraiser, Brown Bag Cafe, author Babette Rosen Hughes, Clarina Nichols, Island Park slideshow in memory of Peg and Jeff Berry, Main Street printing exhibit, and attending the yearly Vermont History Expo. The Historical Society published several books. Images of America, Brattleboro, released in 2000. Voices of America, Brattleboro Remembers, released in 2001. It has mouse pads, note paper, and postcards with Brattleboro historical images available in the history room, along with the 2008 Old Brattleboro calendar. The Society's annual meeting this year, co-sponsored by the Brooks Memorial Library, will be held on December 9th at 2 p.m. at the library. Tom Slayton will be there talking about his new book, Searching for Thoreau, and Thoreau's connection to Brattleboro.
A scene looking at Island Park Pavilion from Prospect Hill with Charlie Oak's boat livery on the downside of the road and the Island Park Pavilion on the upside of the road. In the shadows in the foreground is an early roundhouse that stood on the bank of the river right down over from Walnut Street, and the Island Park Pavilion can be seen in the background. Also the round brick gas houses over on Bridge Street. Hayes Bigelow, a West Brattleboro photographer who took many photographs of Brattleboro, also had a boat livery on the island. This particular building stood where the launching site is today, and he rented canoes and rowboats which were stored in the upper story of this building, and he also had two large boats where he carried passengers up and down the river in the summertime. This is a scene of the circus on the island. As many times the circuses came here during this marvelous time from 1911 until 1927, very few pictures exist of circuses on the island. Some of these were Barnum and Bailey, Sells Floto, Hardin and Wallace. These all came by train on the upper level on Vernon Street and were unloaded about 5 o'clock in the morning and were set up during the morning hours on the island, and at noontime a lively parade proceeded up through Main Street, and then they had a performance in the afternoon and another performance in the evening, and by morning all of this had been taken down and had gone on by train to the next stop. This is a nice picture of the Island Park Pavilion, showing the grandstand on the back, flags flying on the top, and the bridge that went out in the flood of 1920. This is the inside of the dance hall. They also had wrestling here. They had indoor movies. Farmer Bailey wrestled here many times. Miss America, Miss Universe appeared here. Paul Whiteman and his band came here and played. All the things that were good happened in this charming old building. The ice cream parlor. This building contained a penny arcade, a bowling alley, every kind of entertainment, including indoor and outdoor movies. On pleasant evenings, the movies were shown out on the ballpark on a large screen, and they simply turned the projector around and showed them in the dance hall on rainy nights. And here is evidence of the automobiles on the Island Road, all watching the ball game. Here we have a good crowd watching a ball game and a game in progress. To the extreme right and across the river can be seen the top of the E. Crosby grain elevator, which was later taken down in 1912 and was built on Vernon Street. In 1912, there was about 300 Brattleboro people who participated in a week-long extravaganza called the Brattleboro Pageant. And here this scene is depicting a Norwegian boat. However, it actually is representation of the Swedish families who came to Brattleboro and built Sweetville on West Street. They built two churches. Many of them were employees of Esty Organ Company. Here is the New Hampshire, one of Bigelow's boats. And in the background you can see the tall white building, which was the E. Crosby grain elevator. You can also see the round brick gas house to the left. and the large building to the right is the back of the American Building and the American Building Annex. And this is one of the early advertisements of Bigelow's boats. These were the Vermont and the New Hampshire, and each one would carry 30 passengers. And they started out from the island for trips around the island. They went to Vernon, they went to Hinsdale, and they went to Putney. If you wanted to, you could go to Putney in the morning on the morning boat, walk up into the village and get a nice dinner for 50 cents, and return on the late afternoon boat. Round trip to Putney was 35 cents, and you could go around the island for 5 cents. They had many winter activities on the ice. One of them was ski joring, which is a horse towing a man on skis. They had sulky racing, they had skating, and they also had these motorcycle races. This is a newspaper clipping from the old defunct Boston Post newspaper. Notice the chain on the front wheel of the machine to the left. There were several ice boats in the wintertime. Here again is one that was made by Charlie Oakes. He is the man again with the mustache in the back. We know that this engine came out of one of his boats because of the two tanks. The upper tank is the gasoline tank. The lower barrel is the water cooling, which would normally be done by river water in the summertime. And a spiked wheel on the back provides the power. This is another machine also owned by Charlie Oakes. This particular photograph was torn, but there was enough left of it that we felt it was worthwhile to reproduce it onto a slide. The man at the extreme right in the beaver hat is H.M. Wood, and he had a sporting goods store on Main Street Hill where part of Sam's Army Navy stands today. When I was a small boy, H.M. Wood lived on Green Hill Parkway, and this machine, all taken apart, was in storage in his garage. And we used to play hide and go seek in that area, and many times we would hide in that garage. And I remember seeing this, and my brothers and I wanted this more than anything in this world. But in those days, we couldn't rub 2 nickels together and get a dime. Eventually, H.M. Wood moved to Florida, and he swapped this machine for a $7 revolver. This is John Manley. He was the oldest son of John Manley Sr., who built the 2 brick buildings on High Street and had the first automobile sales agency for Essex and Hudson cars in the state of Vermont. Farmer Bailey came to Brattleboro from up in Plymouth, Vermont. He took up wrestling about 1912 and wrestled until 1925. He went as far west as Montana, as far south as Georgia, and down some into Texas. In over 1,000 fights, he only lost 11. He had originally worked as a boy for Charlie Allen in the florist shop, and he was Brattleboro Strong Boy. We have found a newspaper clipping where he could lift his boss's horse, which weighed 1,200 pounds. However, we have never been able to find a photograph of that event. He eventually gave up the ring in 1925. In 1931, he tried to make a comeback in the old Auditorium Theater with Gus Sonnenberg and was injured very badly, and then he gave it up and went into the florist business up on Canal Street. This is a little better view of the Crosby grain mill on the mouth of the Whetstone Brook. At one time, this company did $1 million a year worth of business, much of it wholesaling in grain. The Victorian station can be seen down the tracks further in the distance. This picture was taken, I believe, the day before the first steel bridge was lost to this ice, which happened March 29th, 1920. The bridge went out during the night, so nobody saw it go. However, a man living on the island by the name of Con Flanagan claimed that he had money in his house and he was going to go and get it. Sheriff Wellman told him he could not go, but he went just the same. Coming back with his bag of money, the bridge went out and he went with it and was never found. This is where the bridge normally went, from this sawhorse over to the Island Park Pavilion. And here is a solid sea of ice from Walnut Street all the way down to where the railroad bridge comes across from Hinsdale. There is no stopping this ice when it moves. And here is a scene after the river had receded with considerable damage to the pavilion. So now it was necessary to build a pile bridge across the river so that the people from Hinsdale could come into work. And here is a steam pile driver driving the piles. They've got it halfway across now, and here it is all completed. However, another freshet came along and took the middle of it right out. You will see some of it on each end here in this picture, and also in this one. At this time, they brought down a ferry boat that ran from East Emerson to West Chesterfield. This ferry boat was operated by Jack Allen, who some people have said was a bootlegger. The power to provide the propulsion for this was a motorboat tied on the side. The motorboat was owned by Charlie Oakes. The boy that helped him at that time by running the motorboat is Monty Ebenhausen, and Monty Ebenhausen is alive today and living in North Hinsdale. So now they're getting ready to build the steel bridge that exists there today. And what do you think happened? It collapsed. This happened in the daytime. 21 men were dumped into the river. None of them lost their lives. Nobody was hurt. But they had to start all over again. They brought in a pile driver on a barge, and at this particular time, there was a diver working on the bottom of the river. On the little barge on the side, you will see two men propelling some wheels with handles. They're pumping air down into the helmet of the diver who's working on the bottom of the river. And here is the present steel bridge, half completed. They had to put in another pile bridge in order to have something to work on, and eventually the pile bridge was taken out. In 1927, the big barn containing Walter Maine's circus ad tipped over, and my father brought my two brothers and I down here. I was 10 years old at the time, and we looked into that big barn, and there was many, many beautiful boats, some of them made of mahogany. They were all smashed up and full of mud. More damage by high water. This building contained a penny arcade, a bowling alley, every kind of entertainment, including indoor and outdoor movies. Miss America and Miss Universe appeared here. Paul Whiteman and his band came here and played. All the things that were good happened in this charming old building.